Hi everybody, welcome to my kitchen. I hope that we get folks joining us today. I know the weather is beautiful in lots of cities today, even in Chicago. It is absolutely gorgeous, and we have such gorgeous natural light coming in, beaming in to my kitchen, so I'm so excited. And I know some folks might be out enjoying the weather. I am here enjoying and basking in this beautiful weather in my kitchen and cooking up a storm. I just love it. And so if you're gonna join me today, welcome. Thank you for joining in. And I think you're really gonna enjoy the recipe that I have ready for you today. It is a very brothy tomato soup made from taste profiles that are very common, especially in the Thai community. So tom yum soup, think just the sour notes that you get from some of those soups, which are some of my favorites. I remember traveling through Bali and getting just delicious, very tangy soups filled with lots of herbs like lemongrass as well as cilantro and basil, and we're gonna use all of those today. Some of you may be wondering, well, Anupi, you're a little nutty. Why would you make a soup when the weather's so beautiful out there? Well, because brothy light soups are actually great for warmer weather as well. So don't worry about it. This is not a very heavy stew. It's just very light. It's very brothy. It's not my own recipe, but I feel like I am making it into my own recipe because I'm swapping out a couple of ingredients to make this dish vegetarian, vegan friendly, and just absolutely delicious. The original recipe called for fish in the broth, in the tomato broth, and I got to thinking I actually wanted to add in something different rather than fish. I wanted to add in some tofu, but the tofu I wanted to add was a soft tofu. So this is Ichiban Tofu, which is a brand that has helped to bring this cooking demo to all of you, and I'm really excited to talk about them. I've been talking about their firm tofu for other dishes, but for this soup I really want the soft tofu. Why soft? Well, because it really is that perfect consistency in a brothy tomato light soup. It's very light itself, and the only real difference between a soft and a firm tofu is the amount of water and moisture in it. So the moisture has been pressed out of a firm tofu and less so much for this soft tofu. So you have to really kind of know the dish that you're making to understand what kind of tofu you'd want to put in there. And part of it is just a preference in terms of what you like, what you don't like in terms of the cooking process, but give this a try. So the soft variety of Ichiban Tofu is the first product that I want to talk to you about. Another is fish sauce. And for those of you like ourselves, we have a mixed family when it comes to eaters. We have some that eat just about anything, and others in our family that are more plant-based. So I always like to be, as most Indian families are, just respectful towards the folks that are plant-based or vegan or just vegetarian. And I try to pull out wherever I can so that the foods that I make can be enjoyed by everybody in my home. And everyone is welcome, I always say, to my dinner table. So this is a way for everyone to be able to eat. We can sub out the fish sauce for a vegetarian fish sauce, which is brought to you, by Tasty Joy. There's a lot of different varieties of vegetarian vegan fish sauce on the market. You can also even go out and look for ways to incorporate this into other dishes, but this is a fantastic ingredient to get into, especially a soup like we're going to talk to you about today. So your vegetarian Tasty Joy is going to be a fantastic addition to the soup. We don't need a lot because this is a very condensed flavor profile ingredient. You just need about 1 tablespoon and that'll do the trick. So go look for it. You'll find it in a lot of Asian grocery stores. And I'm gonna say to those of you that don't shop Asian grocery stores, whether they are South Asian, Southeast Asian, or East Asian grocery stores, here's a tip. Go in there, take your recipe with you, and show the folks what you want in your recipe. They will be so proud to just walk you through the aisles and showcase their different ingredients and what you need. And that's what I know from just, personal experience of dealing with our own Indian grocery stores. I always recommend to support them because they're often mom and pop stores. They really depend on your business, and they will be very proud to just showcase the ingredients of their culture. So I know that from so many Indian grocers that I work with. It's interesting, in Illinois, in Downers Grove, we've got this little market area that has an Indian grocery store, but it also has a East Asian grocery store right next to it. They're just separated by 1 store. And I go to the Indian grocery store and I get what I need, and then I walk over oftentimes to the other one, and I don't speak Mandarin, but I speak Japanese, and my daughters speak some Mandarin. So when we started chit-chatting with them in there, they were so happy, they were beaming. And whenever we go in there, they're so proud to show us the latest and greatest that they've got on their shelf. They point out different ingredients for me. So sometimes it's just a matter of making an effort and just asking a question and being approachable ourselves to open up those doors of approachability on the other end as well. So I say that knowing a couple different languages and knowing how to break those barriers through language, but if you don't, take the recipe that's on my website, print it out, take it in with you, and just point to whatever you need. Well, there you go. Let's talk now about different ingredients. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take my phone, and we're just recording a quick live on my phone. It's a very simple, relaxed day in the kitchen, and I'm going to turn the camera and show you exactly what I have here. So give me a second. Here we go. This is just a great way for you to get right in here with me. So here we go. We've got the Ichiban Tofu. This is a soft variety of tofu. Not much that you need to do with it. I do like to put it into a container that has a rim to it, because now you've got a tiny bit of moisture coming off of it. Not much. You don't need to press it or anything like that. But then you can just drain away that moisture. Not a problem. It's just a great way to keep it stored up and ready to go. I tend not to want to cut into it until I'm ready to use it. Another thing that we want to use for this recipe is a shallot. What's a shallot? Super simple. It's a type of onion, but it is a little bit more dense in terms of flavor, so it's fun to get a shallot into your cooking. It'll just ramp up your flavor profile just a bit for whatever you are making. These shallots I find really interesting because they're very similar to the little red onions that we use in Indian cooking. So sometimes I recommend with my Indian cooking to go ahead and use a shallot instead of the very almost like moisture-packed larger yellow or red onions. So this is going to be when I go to Delhi and I visit my family. These are the types of size of onion that we find. So a shallot can be a great substitute even in Indian cooking. We've got some lime juice here. We've got also, I just want to welcome everybody that's joining in. How are you? Thank you for joining. We've got chili peppers. Now, are all chili peppers the same? No, of course not. You can use a green Thai chili in this recipe. I am in love and obsessed, and my mouth's watering just as I'm talking about this because I love chilies. This is a Vietnamese red chili. It's a little smaller than a serrano or even a jalapeno, but this is the right type of taste profile from a chili that you want in a soup like we're going to make. You can also use the green Thai chili. What I find with chilies is, just a tip for my own cooking experiences, that the red has a little bit of a sweeter taste profile. So I've tried to sub these into my Indian dals, A little less successfully though. Because of that little bit of sweetness, I tend to find these work so well with some coconut milk, with any kind of Southeast or East Asian cooking that I'm doing, but not as much with Indian, South Indian cooking. You can use them. I'm not saying there's any real right or wrong, but I tend to go for those green Thai chilies when I'm making something Indian. So just a little tip for you, but use what you have. If you don't have a Vietnamese red chili or a Thai chili, use whatever chili you've got in the fridge for your recipe, not a worry. But again, visit those Asian grocery stores. You're gonna find these chilies really, really readily. We've got some minced garlic, that's 4 cloves, and you can go to my website, indianasapplepie.com. You'll see the recipe there if you search Facebook Live. We'll have the instructions up relatively shortly as well. And then we've got lemongrass, and I am going to show you how to prep your lemongrass. I had a friend who happens to be Asian American tell me they have no idea how to prep lemongrass, and I thought, oh my goodness, let's just do a quick class on that because it is not that complicated, folks. It's super simple to do. And once I show you, you're going to be buying lemongrass left and right because it's such a great infuser of flavor into your dishes. This is our Tasty Joy 1 tablespoon of vegetarian fish sauce. If you wanted to use regular fish sauce, of course, go for it. You can use that. That's what the original recipe called for. We've also got tomatoes. We want 3 very ripe tomatoes. And I'm going to show you some tips and tricks with my tomatoes. But here's the thing. The recipe that I used originally and that I modified, because I modify everything, is a recipe that called for de-seeding the tomato. But you see that I left the seeds in here. It's up to you. If you want a smoother, clearer broth, then feel free to de-seed. If you don't mind the seeds, now in our Indian cooking, we tend to use all the seeds. But when I go to cook for larger groups, especially that are not so much Indian American groups, and I do big events, we tend to pull out the seeds just to give you a smoother broth, a smoother kind of taste profile, a smoother roll off your tongue. So it totally depends on how you want to prep your tomatoes. So feel free to take and scoop the seeds out if you would like. You can also go as far as peeling your tomatoes. I'm just going to do a quick demo for you on that as well. Hi Urvi, thanks for joining. And Jared and everybody else, thank you so much. Appreciate you watching. Here we go. We've got the Vietnamese chilies prepped. Here's something interesting that a lot of folks that are trained chefs, and they're trained in the Western style of cooking, and it's fair that they ask me, Anupi, why do you not take out the seeds or the membrane? Because that is how they're often trained. In our cooking, our styles of cooking, we keep the seeds, we keep the membrane intact, and we use it because it adds flavor to your dish. If you prefer not to, take it out, not a problem at all. Now, keep in mind it's a little bit counterintuitive with the chilies. The more you slice and dice, the more heat you're releasing. So if you don't want to release a ton of heat, not a problem. And again, you're not cooking for me in your kitchen, you're cooking for yourself. Just keep that chili either whole in your dish and take it out before you're going to eat, or slice it just in half, or slice it in half and take out the seeds in the membrane. You're going to be completely fine. That is just a way to ensure that you're not, well, the people around your table are not sweating from all the heat. Now, if you're like me and you love your heat, well, use all of it. Here I've actually used 6 Vietnamese red chilies, and I am probably going to add a little more later. I'll sneak it in, but my family, even my girls, they're teenagers, love their heat and love chilies. Please use it sparingly if you're not used to it, and ramp up as you go. Here we go. We've got the shallot. That's 2 that have been minced ahead of time. And then we've got our herbs. The 2 herbs that I'm using today, one is a regular Italian basil because we could not find the Thai basil on the market. So super fresh, beautiful. We can use it in our dish. I do recommend, if you can find it, use a Thai basil. I will often find a plant or two at the farmer markets and bring them home and grow them for this summer, and then I'll have it for cooking all through the summer, and I'll dry them out and I'll keep them for later as well. They're just a beautiful add. And cilantro. Here's the thing, here's a little trick on cilantro I just want to tell everybody about. Our co-packer was saying one day for our sauces that it was funny that some places cut off the stem and get rid of them. And he found that he actually, you know, when they don't know that, he can actually collect the stems, unused stems, from folks that throw out the cilantro stems because they're edible and they're very soft. It's not like mint or even the woody stem of basil. It's a very edible, thin, soft stem. So you can actually keep that in your dish and you can absolutely use it and eat it. All right, so this is our prep tray. Remember, I always like to keep everything on one tray, and that way when I'm ready to really cook and go to my stovetop, I just take the entire thing with me, and that way we're not like juggling things, forgetting things. Maybe I come back to it later and cook with it later as well. All right, so here's our lemongrass. I am going to showcase how to prep it, but here's the thing. It comes in a big long stalk like this. You need about the bottom, maybe third right here. You're gonna cut that. We will peel away the outer layer that is thick and woody, and then we'll get to that inner layer or inner core, and then we'll smash that down with our chef's knife to release flavor. And then in this dish, we actually mince it and add it to our soup early on. If you don't want to mince it and eat it, it'll soften up, so it'll be completely fine when you're eating it at the end. You don't have to take it out. You can leave it in larger pieces and just add it into your soup or whatever dish you're making and then pull it out so you have the flavor, and then you pull it out towards the end. All right, so let's go ahead. I'm gonna put the phone back on the stand that I've got here, and I'm going to turn the camera to my cutting board, and I want you to watch me prep the lemongrass. But before we do, we had a couple folks join in later. Claudia, Marilyn, welcome. Giovanna, welcome. If you have any questions, now's the time to ask. We can get a couple questions answered if anybody has any questions about the soup. We're gonna go into more details, obviously, but if you joined a little later, the two key products that we're showcasing are a soft tofu by Ichiban, and then a vegetarian fish sauce that we've got here as well. And this is by Tasty Joy. Two really great companies that I would recommend you look for at your mom and pop. We're supporting mom and pop Asian grocers. Go in there and ask for these products by name. Likely they will carry them. Okay, if there's no questions, we're gonna go ahead and move the camera, shift it to my cutting board. I'm gonna show you exactly what I do with the lemongrass. It is a fantastic ingredient to get into your cooking. So as soon as you see this demo, you're gonna run out, you're gonna go buy some. I know you are. All right, let's check this out. And I always laugh because the things that seem so complicated sometimes are incredibly, incredibly simple. Very easy. Once somebody shows you how to do it, it's that aha moment and the light bulb that goes off. This is how lemongrass, this is how you're gonna purchase it, right? It's gonna be usually like a longer stalk than this even. So we're gonna go ahead and look at the end. And this one is not as good of an example, but here, this is a little bit of a woody end. We're gonna cut the end off, and then we're gonna go up to the point where it seems kind of softer and less woody, which is about a third of the way up, and we're gonna just chop that with our large chef's knife, okay? So here we go. And when your knives are nice and sharp, you just kind of get one slice through, and then we're gonna go ahead and unroll some of the woodier parts on the outside. And this is actually pretty good. I probably would not take off too much more than this. And this if you smell it, it's so beautifully fragrant, like lemongrass. You can save these, folks, and use them in your cooking and then take them out when you're done so that you don't bite into them. But here is our beautiful, whoop, you don't want to hurt yourself. Here we go. Let's just catch that. We're going to go ahead and, here, let's do it this way. That's going to be a little safer. There we go. By now you probably know we have a very talkative Australian Shepherd who likes to bark in the background. There we go. He kind of understands the word quiet, not quite. All right, so now let's mince this beautifully. And there it is. And I want to just make sure I get all of this beautifully minced up, because the smaller the mince on this, the more flavor you're taking out of it, you're getting out of it. You could have also gone ahead and smashed it once and just put it into your soup just like that if you do indeed want to take it out. This is soft enough though to go into your soup and cook through and then eat. You do not have to worry about taking any of this out. Now, how do you gather your product from your cutting board? This is something that we talk about a lot on my pages on Indian as Apple Pie, and you can use the back of your knife. You could use, some folks use the blade, but if you use the blade, you're going to dull your knife or risk hurting yourself. Use the back of your knife, or even better yet, use a scraper. I always talk about scrapers being so critical in the kitchen. So easy to use, because then you can gather all of your ingredients, and then you just get it all into your prep dishes. So simple, so easy, very important to have a scraper, or use the back of your knife if you do prefer to use that as well. All right, let's do the tomato real quick. Go ahead and push some of these ingredients, these kind of leftover bits and pieces to the right. And we've got a tomato here. The key is on this brothy tomato soup is you want to use a tomato that is super, super ripe, very soft, and has lots of flavor. It is bursting with flavor. I've already washed this, and what I want to use is, I've got a strawberry husker. Very simple tool. Usually I will slice it in half and then cut that little middle out. But instead, what I'm going to do is use my little tool just to cut that out. How easy and how simple, right? Now, another thing that I want to show all of you is, I want to show you how our serrated peeler works. Most of you have a regular peeler. If you have a chance, go out and purchase a serrated peeler. Very simple if you want to take the peels off your tomato in a flash. That's what the serrated peeler does for you. Any kind of stone fruit, plums, peaches, super easy. Now in this recipe, I tend not to take the peel off. I tend not to do that for most of my recipes, largely because Indian cooking doesn't really require you to take the peels off. Again, if you want a smoother end product, you would do that. But this is how simple it is to do with the serrated peeler. I just want to make sure I showed you that, just because I love it when I'm able to show folks some of the tips and tricks that I use in my own kitchen to make things, the process, faster and simpler. Now, I did not take the rest off because we don't really need to for this recipe, but I am going to grab my serrated knife and let's just go ahead and roughly chop our tomato. Got the juice coming out, it's okay, I will get it. So easy, so simple. Right? So we've got that there, and this is the beauty of our scraper, folks. Whoops, want the cilantro to go back. is you're going to grab everything from the very bottom, including the juices. You're going to just go ahead and put that all into your bowl. And then, there we go. Grab a nice little dishcloth, wipe your hands off, and keep your surface area, your cutting board, super beautifully cleaned up. I use a ton of towels, minimal paper towels, minimal waste, minimal paper towels. I like keeping a trash bowl nearby because when you're wiping things away off your board, they can go right into your trash bowl. These demos are as much about our recipes as they are about showcasing how to cook and how to prep incredibly, well, like an expert, right? So in a really nice, clean manner so that you keep your workspace super clean and super organized. All right, we got that. And now we should be ready to cook. All right. So far, any questions, folks? Any questions at all? Because we're gonna go to my stove and we're gonna start cooking this soup. It is so easy and so simple that you are gonna love it. And I kind of was joking that, here we go, you're gonna go with me over here. I was joking with folks on my website that it's so simple that you're going to want to make it again in the same day, which is what I did the first day that I made this recipe. All right, so we're at my stovetop, and what I've got is a large, I guess this is the medium-sized Dutch oven Le Creuset. Whatever pot you have to make soup in is perfectly fine, but I love my Le Creuset so because it's nice and heavy, and I can really just kind of cook my dishes up without burning anything, and it just feels so good, and it's just like the perfect tool, kitchen tool pot to use on a Sunday, on a lazy Sunday. I just love it. My heat is a medium high to a medium low. I'll probably go towards low a little bit more, and we'll turn the camera in just a moment. But first, let's just get things warmed up. Let me go ahead and grab my prep tray, and I also have already portioned out 5 cups of water, cold water, okay? So we will keep that to the side. We'll go get the prep tray. Here we go. See how simple this is? I'm not embarrassed to admit I'm a bit of a klutz, so that's why I like having these trays, so I don't drop anything and nothing falls and breaks, because the dog pretty much grabs whatever falls on the ground. You don't want him eating any chilies. We don't want any messes, but we got it. All right, we got it all over here. We're gonna get some of the tofu as well. And as I said before, this tofu, we're not going to cut it until we're ready to use it, because as we cut it, it's gonna release more moisture. All right, so we've got a nice warm pot, and if no one has any questions, we're gonna go ahead and show you the pot. We're gonna shift the camera over, and you're gonna get to see exactly what I'm going to do with my soup. All right, here we go. And you should be able to see it without us getting too close, because we don't want to overheat the camera, which has happened in the past. All right, so nice and warm. I tend to like to touch my pots and pans. Another trick on Le Creuset and any type of Dutch oven that has handles like this, you know your pot is ready to cook when you touch the handles and they feel warm to you. It's not quite there yet, but at the same time, for what I'm going to do, I may not want it too hot. So it feels like the heat is coming off. I might just turn down my stove just a hair. All right, here we go. Let's go ahead and put 2 tablespoons of oil. We've got a vegetable oil. Any will do. I use grapeseed, but you can feel free to use whatever you like. So 2 tablespoons in there. We want it to warm up, but we don't want it too hot because when we put our other ingredients in there, we don't want them to actually brown. So we want them to stay just to get a little opaque with the shallot. That's about it. So we've got the shallot in there. We're gonna get the garlic. Here we go. Remember, folks, I always say that most of the work when it comes to cooking is in your prep. So if you've done the prep already, you're good. Let's go ahead and put the chilies in. Remember, when the chilies go in hot oil, they're going to give off a level of heat. It's going to come into the air. You don't want to be too close to your pan. You don't want that all in your face. You want it just to kind of like dissipate if it can. And then we're going to get our lemongrass, or beautifully fragrant lemongrass in here. This is going to go for about 3 minutes. The original recipe called for 5. I find that if you hit 5, it's just really almost too much cook time. They start to brown a little bit. And we want to keep stirring. We want to keep with the back of our spatula, just kind of stirring it so that it's not really sitting and browning at all. All right. So if you've joined a little later, we are making my brothy tomato, tofu, and what was the other thing that we included in that original? Ooh, lime. That's right. Brothy tomato, tofu, and lime soup. And I've made it vegan, vegetarian, because I've used, instead of fish, which was the original recipe, I've used a soft tofu and I've used a vegetarian fish sauce. So that is pretty much where you want it. And what? That was maybe 2 minutes. So you really don't need a lot of time to cook this down. We want to now add in our tomatoes. So let's go ahead and put them in. And let's get every beautiful last drop of delicious juice. And now you see how already the heat has kind of, you can kind of hear it. It's already dissipated, it's cooled down a bit. Let's pump up the heat a little bit. There we go. Just to warm it back up and get those heat levels where we were. And we want to stir this nicely so that everything is mixed up beautifully and you are not cooking what's underneath those tomatoes too much. And as I'm cooking, I'm just with the back of my spatula breaking the tomatoes down. This is why you want a beautifully ripe tomato for this. Now, just to also give you a little bit of just instruction on tomatoes. So different Asian dishes require different levels of ripeness for tomatoes. Usually for an Indian dish, we tend to go a little bit less ripe because we don't want a ton of sweetness in our curries. But this is a more of a Southeast Asian inspired dish. So kind of like a Thai tom yum soup. So that kind of burst of ripeness from your tomato is okay in this soup, and that is what we are looking for. So we're gonna go about 5 minutes with this, and maybe just a tiny bit less because we're just going live and we may not want to go ahead and may not want to watch me do this for 5 full minutes, but you're going to see where we're going to get to with even the couple minutes that we have. And if it's a little slower to cook, you're going to pick that heat up just a bit. So many folks that I teach cooking to are nervous to shift the heat around, but that's really truly the sign of a really good cook and master of their own kitchen, is that they know when to pull back, when to increase the heat, you know when to move this pan away from your cooking source, you know when to pull it back. See how it's now boiling beautifully? That's great, that's what we want. And we want all that brothiness, all that juiciness coming from the tomato. Again, you could have taken the peels off if you really wanted to do that, but we decided to keep the peel on. It's really a matter of your own preference. Now, if you don't want to use a fish sauce, whether it's a regular fish sauce or if it is a vegetarian, use your Kikkoman soy sauce, whatever you've got. If you don't have anything like that, throw in a little bit of apple cider vinegar, just to kind of give you that little bit of that sour note in there. All right, so now we are pretty much ready to go ahead and put some water in. I want to go ahead and put my salt in here as well. So I've got 2 teaspoons of salt, and I'm going to go ahead and put my fish sauce. This is the vegetarian tasty joy sauce, but you can use regular if you'd like, regular fish sauce. Again, you can use your soy sauce if you would like. And I just want it all to kind of come together beautifully. And you can see too how the peppers just start to break down. It becomes part of this soup. It's really, really fragrant. I can smell all those beautiful flavors come up at me, grab me. I just love it. It's so refreshing, and that is why, even though it may be spring, this is just a great dish to just learn how to make and just make again and again for your family and for yourself at home. All right, so now let's go ahead and add the 5 cups of water. This is 5 cups of cold water. We want it to come to a boil, so we'll pop up that heat just a tiny bit. And folks, remember too, whenever you are cooking, and you're cooking for anyone, you must taste your food. Because even though someone might give you a recipe that worked for them, it may work differently for you. Your tomatoes might be less ripe, more ripe. Your taste preference might be for a little bit more salt. And for me, I want a little bit more of the Tasty Joy. Just a little bit more. That's going to be 2 more teaspoons about. Also, if you don't want to double dip with the spoon that you tasted from, you're going to grab a little bit from here. You're going to just pour it in here and give it a taste, which is what I do when I don't have a lot of tasting spoons here to fiddle with. Because you don't want to double dip, right? Well, if you do, you're in your own kitchen, so I'm not judging, I promise. All right, so that is essentially the soup, believe it or not. We're going to let this come to a nice little simmer, and then we're going to get our tofu ready to put in here. If you were using fish, you would use a white fish, a halibut, maybe a tilapia, even a cod would be perfect. And you're going to go ahead and put the fish in at this point and let it simmer for about 5 minutes, and it will cook beautifully through. But we are going to use our tofu. So let's go ahead and grab I'm going to grab my serrated knife, and I'm going to show you what I do. I'm going to just go ahead and make a few slices. That's how soft my beautiful tofu actually is. And then we're gonna just slice it a little more. I wanna show you something too. I don't know if you can see it with the light. It's a lot of natural light in my kitchen, so there's a lot of water pooling up in here. We're gonna just throw that out. That's just from sitting there. I didn't even press it. So, but this is a very beautiful, soft tofu, and you want to be very gentle with it. I tend to just slice it right in my hand, and then I put it right into my soup, just like this. There it is. And you don't need to cook the tofu very much. You just need to simmer it so that it cooks and warms through. Be very careful if you're cutting in your hand like this with the knife, obviously. Super easy. We've got a few more little pieces. Just go ahead and put those in there. We're going to get rid of the water and clean this dish. Now, what I love about this too is that there's so many other things that you can do with this soup base. You don't just have to make it this way. You can now add in other veggies. I love adding in pea pods, perhaps. You can add in a ton of broccoli if you want. You could do cauliflower. You can really make this your own Brussels sprouts? Sprouts, mung sprouts, soy sprouts. I get a ton of those from the Asian market, and I always bring them home. They're super fresh. I'll throw a bunch in at the last possible moment and just cook them for just a minute, and they get a little limp, and then it's just the perfect addition to a brothy soup like this. And we're just waiting for this to come to a boil, because then we're going to let it simmer for about a minute. And we're not going to touch it too much. That's the thing with soft tofu. If you start mixing and playing with it way too much, it'll start to break down because it's so super soft. Now, I'll tell you too, another fun recipe that we might do at another time is you could take all the elements of this dish, and you could take that soft tofu, put it on a plate, chop up your chilies, some lemongrass, some garlic, maybe even shave some ginger on the tofu, and then pour on your soy sauce and a little bit of fish sauce in a plate. It's absolutely delicious. It's a cold tofu prep. They do quite a bit of that kind of thing in Japanese cooking. You go to a Japanese restaurant, you'll have agedashi tofu and dishes like that, and that's what that soft tofu is perfect for. All right, so let's go ahead and we'll taste it one more time. We'll use the same spoon, but obviously we don't want to double dip. We're just gonna pour. Really nice. It's just a nice flavor profile that's gonna get ramped up when we add the lime juice. We want 2 tablespoons of lime juice or more. I would recommend, if you have a chance, buy a measuring spoon that is 2 tablespoons. It's a perfect way to measure out your ingredients, and we've got 2, and I always want 1 more, so about half. So that is 3 tablespoons of lime, and then I just want my herbs in here. Maybe what we'll do is we'll pull the leaves off, the basil, take the cilantro. I love the stem. It just looks really beautiful. And now it's getting very hot. Let's pull this down a little bit and just simmer it. There it is. So nice. And that is really it. Such a simple soup. Let's go ahead and serve it. Whenever I serve my soup, I like to grab whatever that main ingredient is, and here it's our tofu. So we're gonna have the tofu in there first, 1 or 2 pieces perhaps. We're gonna go ahead and plate it with a little soup and broth around it with a ton of tomatoes, lemongrass swimming in here, the gorgeous chili peppers. Let's grab a little bit more, and that's how you are going to serve it. And then let's taste it. Ooh, it is so beautiful and looks so good, and it's so hot. This plate is really hot on the bottom, but I like my soup beautifully hot and fragrant and so delicious. Yes? Do you want a bite? So we have a special guest that would like a taste, and this is somebody who will not say they like something if they don't. This is my daughter, Aria, so come on in, Aria. Okay. And we can double dip because we're in the same household, right? So here we go. Well, you have to come in the camera because no one can see you.
I want to be in the camera.
Be honest.
Tastes like basil.
It tastes like basil. Well, it has a lot of basil in it. And I like a big spoon too to be able to get some of that tofu. And here we go. Really, really good. Let's get a chili too. I feel so bad that I'm eating and you guys are not, so please make this. You're gonna love it. It's a lot of soup. A little bit goes a long way. And it's done. So I'm gonna turn it off and put the lid on and let it just sit and kind of develop those flavors. So what do you think? How's everybody feeling? Any questions before we sign off and let you all enjoy your days, your Sunday? Again, the tofu that I recommend is Ichiban Tofu. It's a soft tofu. If you prefer firmer, not a problem. Get your firmer tofu on. You can make this soup to be what you want it to be for you and your household. If you want fish in there, make it a little lighter. If you want to put some chicken in there, you could add a little bit of chicken or other protein as well. Tasty Joy vegetarian fish sauce is what I used today. Again, it's such a little amount of product, but it does make a thanks for joining. It does make a difference. I always say we are a mixed eating household. Many Punjabi Indian families are. So we just have to be cognizant of who's going to be eating our food to know how we cook it. We tend to go more with the vegetarian ingredients, and then whomever in the household can add in whatever else they want. So sometimes I will make maybe a fish on the side for my husband, or I'll make maybe a grilled chicken so someone else can add it in. But we have a base that is strictly vegetarian, and sometimes I prefer more plant-based, so I tend to go that route. So really just cook the way your family wants and the way you want and the way it works for you. I just like to give you tons and tons of options. So now the recipe, where do you go for the recipe? Just so everybody knows, I always like to cite my source for my recipes. This is not my own concoction. This came from the October issue of Bon Appetit magazine. You'll see that I reference them on my website. So my website is indianasapplepie.com. You can just type in the search box Facebook Live, and you'll see the last Facebook Live post has ingredients listed. I'm going to add in the instructions, but I wanted you to watch them so that I can add them in, and then you can make this yourself at home. And I hope that all of you enjoyed this demo. We're gonna do more and more. If you have requests, you can always email me, anupisingla@indianasapplepie.com. I'm super approachable. I read everything I get. I may not answer right away because I do everything when it comes to my company, but I love to hear what you're thinking and what you want to try, and also what you think of these ingredients that we've been playing around with. It's always nice to get feedback. All right, folks, so that was my brothy tomato tofu and lime soup. Make it. I promise this is going to be a regular recipe in your menu rotation, and I know your family is going to absolutely love it. Even if it's spring, it's a very light spring soup that you're going to enjoy eating in the next weeks and months to come. All right, folks, so glad that you joined me today. Thank you so much, and spread the spicy love, and make sure that if there is an Asian grocery store near you, pop in there, print out my recipe, take it in with you. They will love showcasing where these ingredients are and telling you more about them. I almost feel like you may not get out of there very quickly, because if I know my community, we love to teach folks how to use the ingredients that we use every day. All right, so thanks so much. Thanks, Linda. Thanks, Karen. Thanks for joining. It was great to see all of you. I will put this video on YouTube as well, and you can watch the rebroadcast. You can slow it down and watch the different steps as well later. All right, take care. Bye. Love you loads. Bye.